Now we'll move to something much more judicial. What is your view on instructing a jury concerning jury nullification? And we'll start with Mr. Pitzker.
I don't believe, well, the judge has to instruct the juries on the applicable law. And I'm not aware of any jury instruction that directly applies to jury nullification. So I don't think that that's an instruction that should go in front of the jury. And as far as my opinion of, actually I think this is one area where I think I can give a little bit of an opinion. I'm very much against jury nullification. I think the jurors are obligated, and the law states that they're obligated to follow the instructions that the judge follows. And if they don't follow those instructions and decide they want to throw in their own feelings of what the law should be, they're not doing their job as a juror. And if every juror decided they could do whatever they damn well please, then we would never have any justice in the jury system. So those are my feelings on that.
Thank you. Ms. McCracken?
Well, there is no jury instruction on jury nullification. Instead, it's the opposite. Jurors are told that they may not nullify, and essentially the way they're told that is they're told that they follow the law. They must follow the law. Jurors, in fact, take an oath that they will follow the law even if they disagree with it. So when we see jury nullification, which happens sometimes, at least the way that we refer to that term in the criminal justice system, it's a case where maybe because the jury didn't like the victim's background, or the fact that the victim had some tattoos, or was, we used to see jury nullification in rape cases in the 70s because the woman wore too short a skirt, and so we're not going to follow the law because maybe she brought this on herself. So jury nullification starts to get into dangerous areas, and judges are obligated to instruct juries not to nullify, and they are to take an oath to follow the law. And if they have such strong feelings about a particular kind of victim, or a particular kind of defendant, or a particular kind of crime, they're supposed to tell the judge that during the jury selection process, so that a case where they don't bring strong personal biases is a better case for them. So as a judge, I would follow the law and instruct the jury to do the same, separate from whatever personal feelings that I have.
Thank you. Mr. Spielbauer.
I think I better give this as my personal observations as to what I would do as a judge. I'm in favor of jury nullification. Jury nullification has a constitutional basis. The whole concept of jury nullification is that the citizens will determine whether a particular law should be applied or not. It's constitutionally based. You're not going to find a California statute or even a federal statute that calls for it, but it's based on constitutional principles, which is the ultimate law of the land. Now, the interesting thing that nobody has bothered to talk about is that when you get called as a juror and you go through the voir dire, before you hear anything, not even the jury instructions, not even the law, you will be asked to take an oath that you will follow the law. My question to you is, how can you take an oath to follow the law when you don't know what the law is that you're going to be told to follow? Now, we remember the good old days of slavery and Fugitive Slave Act and that kind of stuff, where it would have been illegal to harbor runaway slaves and that kind of thing. Well, that was the law of the land. Now, what would you do if you're sitting on the jury and you've taken this blanket oath to follow the law, but you're not told what the law is, and now you're asked to find this person guilty of criminal behavior because he harbored a slave? And so I go back to the point of saying, from a personal perspective, I think, and to say finally that somehow or another you have jury nullification, juries are going to go crazy and just let everybody go and go wacko, that's an ultimate insult to the jury system. The ultimate insult, because it is within the jury system that we place our trust that justice will be done.
Thank you. Ms. Zecker.
I don't believe that a specific instruction saying to the jury that you are not allowed to engage in conduct consistent with jury nullification is going to do any good. Jurors, I have a tremendous faith in the jury system. People are people, and if they are inclined to do something like that, then they're going to do it, regardless of the instruction. That particular instruction is not going to make any difference. As to my personal opinion, whether I agree with it or not, it wasn't part of the question, but I probably wouldn't tell you anyway. So from my perspective, those types of instructions are meaningless in the context of human beings sitting on a jury who are likely to do what they believe is right anyway. Not necessarily that jury nullification is the right thing to do, but I think an instruction on that issue is probably not going to assist.
Mr. Commerce?
Thank you. Yes, it's just absolutely clear that the jury instructions, at least in civil cases, are that the jury must follow the law and follow the law that they're instructed by the judge. And we're the ones that give the instructions. And so when you get an instruction to follow the law, the concept of jury nullification is that, well, gee, I'm not going to follow the law. So that's the opposite of the instruction that you give. And so I wouldn't see any point for an additional instruction telling you you can't do that, and there's already instruction that you have to give that you can't do that. So I think for most of us, that's the end of that. Thank you.
And Ms. Alojimento?
Yes, for those of us who have pretty extensive trial experience, we know pretty much how this works. The jury instructions are really based on a lot of attention that goes in prior to the jury's receiving those instructions. So there are a lot of practices put in place to make sure that juries do reach the correct result and do follow the law, because that is their obligation. If someone wants to go change the law, there are means to do that outside of court. It's not appropriate necessarily come into court and think you are going to change the law. Jurors, we go through a process of voir dire with the jurors so that attorneys have an opportunity to see if there's some bias, and if they feel that someone is biased, they can excuse that juror from serving, and judges even can excuse if they feel that it's strong enough that they can excuse them for cause. Aside from that, when we get to the jury instructions, those are determined by both attorneys in the case, the prosecution and defense, or the plaintiffs and the defense in a civil case, and the judge, all looking at those instructions and making sure that they are fair. And then when they are read to the jury, there's actually been a movement recently to make them a little bit more plain English, because sometimes they are difficult for the jurors to understand, but there's been a movement to make them understandable. And I think with all those precautions in place, we really do end up with the right result most of the time from our juries, because if we can have them understand what their role is and their duty is, then most jurors do take that oath very seriously and come to the right result.
Okay, thank you.